So today is the second day of the CCXP in Brazil, the Comic-Con experience, and Hasbro is down there this weekend with a full booth and have just concluded their panel revealing some official new product and everything. Nate from Hasbro's marketing team led that panel, and I was told by a little birdie to hold off on my segment last night because better photos would be surfacing this morning from the marketing team, and here Friday morning, we are here today to talk about them. We have quite a few things to cover here on the Transformers Slag podcast, so kick back, relax. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot of interesting stuff. So, first up, let's talk about Robosen. They 100% revealed their Soundwave, and indeed he is a tape cassette. The Soundwave teasers that they showed us obviously are not a reflection of what the final product is, and he is his Generation 1 1984 iteration. He looks great, and how they pulled it off looks great too. I love how it transforms, how it stands up. It looks fantastic. I love how articulated it is. I mean, I love how the little shoulder cannon has a little bit of motion and character and life to it, and the way it moves. I appreciate it. It's Robosen. I respect the hustle. I respect the design, but I always dread the pricing. That's where it always hits me in the gut. His MSRP is going to be $1,300 USD. Whew, yeah. That's like $1,800 Canadian. Man, oh man. I was going to save my full rant for talking about the finance side of it and just the whole thing of that. I'll save that for tomorrow. You know what? I'll save that for tomorrow for the Transformers Slag podcast, Saturday Night live stream. I don't want to keep you all day here and talk about that craziness, but we'll get into that in another time because that's a whole other conversation for a whole other thing. But let's talk about the figure itself. You know, he does all the past things that Robosen items do along with your phone and the app. And, you know, there's a nice little bonus now. Like, hey, he also is a Bluetooth speaker. So when he's in his tape cassette mode, he could, you know, play your music from your phone and he could record your voice and he could play back things. And there's a lot of nice little extras that are also there, which is cool if it's important to you. Now he doesn't come with any of his tape cassette buddies though. Those are teased in the video for future releases, and it's quite interesting the way they tease it. The photos that they use for the teaser are actually like, you know, tape cassette buddies of Masterpieces and old Universe Transformer figures to give the vibe of those characters. But one that they show here is Headmaster Mindwipe. And I think Robosen's marketing team used the wrong Mindwipe because I think, first of all, they probably were thinking Ratbat. That's what I think they were going for. They got that mixed up. They ended up with Mindwipe here, and then the Mindwipe that they did use for their photos, at least the teaser, is the third-party Fans Toys FT23 Dracula, aka the third-party Mindwipe. Okay. I guess old Chinese manufacturing habits die hard at the end of the day. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I firmly believe that I think that the whole concept of the tape cassettes are probably something that's going to be sold maybe with a Soundwave repaint in the future to convince people to buy a black repaint. Oh, here's how you get your cassettes. They'll come with this one. So that's probably how they're going to go about it. We saw via a Taiwanese YouTuber, Wei Ji. She got an early sample of the Robosen Soundwave, and she showed that the normal tape cassette scale, the Studio Series scale, even the Masterpiece scale, they're all way too small to fit inside this Soundwave properly. And it's very clear that he's going to have his own larger scale when they do make tape cassettes for this. That will be coming later. It opens up, but it's very clear that that's not the case. And speaking of scale, we also saw via her video, Soundwave is clearly the shortest of all the Robosen stuff we've gotten thus far with Transformers, which is wild considering how it is next to even Bumblebee. And when you think about that MSRP of $1,300 and him being the smallest, man, you Robosen collectors are wild with your money. I mean, I always thought like, oh man, I love collecting Masterpiece, and that's going to hurt my wallet. But man, Robosen stuff like $1,300, that's like 3 to 4 Masterpieces for me. Like 3 to 4 Grail Masterpieces. But fear not, Robosen says here, if you pre-order now for a limited time, you can get them for $1,000. I don't know. It's, to me, again, I appreciate the engineering. I think they look cool. But when we're talking the price here, there's so many other things I could get Transformers with for $1,300. Oh, God. I could build a whole collection of something and get a lot more enjoyment out of it, you know? Again, if you're a hardcore Soundwave fan, if this is your dream item, hey, all power to you. I'm not going to yuck your yum. But, yeah, I'll talk about the money side of things tomorrow because there's a lot more to discuss when it comes to that. Let's move on. Also at CCXP, we had the in-hand EP2 test shot of Onslaught, aka our combined mode of Bruticus and everything, the EP2 blue test shot. We got some good looks at the front and the back just to give some idea of how it looks in person. Again, sculpting looks nice. Again, the proportions are, again, like I mentioned in my yesterday segment about Bruticus, the tougher of all the combiners to really match as an animation model. He always had the weird one compared to everyone else. So it's something that will obviously take some time to get used to. And I still feel we'll probably get something better in the long run, which we'll get into in a moment. We also learned via the Hasbro panel, again, hosted by Nate, we got our first official look at the Armada Sideways from Transformers Age of the Primes. Correction, he is a Voyager class as opposed to Deluxe, as previously reported here. But now that I know that he's a Deluxe, I have some questions because all these photos we've been given, even like the box itself, the back of the box with its cross-cell, there's no mention of the head swapping gimmick at all, which would be a very important thing to advertise when you're trying to sell a product. It's very clear that the eyes for the Minicon heads do not close up and hide. That's a shame that that's not the case. I mean, it's clearly not able to do that from the sculpting here, so the original toy already has an advantage on that. But if Sideways is not able to have his head swapping gimmick at all, I mean, he clearly has the faction swapping thing going on there, but for him not to be able to have the head swap gimmick at a Voyager price point, I hope that's not the case. In 2025, the fact that a deluxe priced $10 Armada toy from 2002, 2003 that came with a bulk figure, 2 Minicons, a sticker trading card, a mini comic, spring-loaded gimmicks, which obviously are more expensive because they're going to have metals and higher quality plastic POMs for that. The fact that that can't be better than a 2025 $43 modern MSRP Voyager, that's 3 times the price. And yes, we could talk about inflation and plastic costs and everything, but when you crunch the numbers, that still doesn't make sense. Like, this thing should be knocking it out of the park. There's something wrong here. I'm hoping that they're just hiding the head combining, not the head combining, the head swapping gimmick is a little surprise or secret for the packaging. I don't know. It is very bizarre. I mean, look, it has better articulation for sure than the original. It looks much more closer to the animation model, 100%. But a big appeal of Sideways and a big major appeal of them is the head swap gimmick. That primary gray head was what he rocked like 90% of the show. For him not to be able to do that would be quite bizarre, especially when you're paying $43 for the Voyager price point. So hopefully we learn more about this, but I don't know. Not feeling that. That's bizarre. That's very, very bizarre. I hope we're just missing something here. So we'll keep you posted when we learn more about this. Maybe he will be in the display and we'll get some answers from the Hasbro team in the extremely, extremely near future. And the last item we're going to be talking about and why we delayed this segment last night to today is our true first look of the Transformers Age of the Primes Voyager class Combaticon Swindle. So we got some official marketing photos now, and I will say this, his robot mode is looking fantastic. They did a great job with the purples around the torso, the way that his chest is done. The Fluoro-Deary animation model is celebrated very well here. I also love how his weapons are the spitting image of the animation model's weapons. The long arm cannon, the little missile gun with all the nice touches and sculpted details on there. That's very, very cool that they kept all of that. Hey man, he's got his purple eyes. You always got to have those purple eyes when you're talking about Swindle because he plays both sides. He's not blue Autobot eyes. He's not red Decepticon eyes. He's a mixture of the two, so you get purple. And that's something Fleur O'Deary baked into the character all those years ago when he saw the original 1986 toy and kept that purple eye, coloration instead of going red like every other Decepticon at that time, with the exception of like Shockwave, because that's a whole other story. But I can't celebrate the robot mode enough, even though he looks great. That Voyager price point, so he's going to come with Bruticus pieces. Comes with this little trailer that makes, the back of the alt mode and stuff and becomes like a big shoulder cannon. Again, using the extra pieces like even old Scramble City toys did back in 86 to make weapons or stuff like that. But for all the love that I give that robot mode, the alt mode is a bit of a different story. Again, Swindle has always been a weird character when it comes to his design history with his alt mode. And it's a problem that we still have in 2025, all these years later. And me as a car guy, I'm always going to nitpick this kind of stuff. It is what it is. I mean, the original 1985, 1986 Swindle the toy was originally based on a 1983, 1984 Ian FMX XR 311 combat vehicle. Very interesting combat vehicle, kind of the precursor to what the Humvee would be years later. Not a Jeep, but kind of its own unique thing. Just really its own thing. But it gets more complex later, trust me. When Swindle was turned into an animation model from the toy by Fleur O'Deary, they opted for something that looks more like a Willy Jeep. There was early models that Fleur did that leaned more towards, a toy-accurate kind of design. It was very different, the robot mode. The heads were different. But they ended up not using those models and ultimately going with that Willy Jeep design that we know today, including the robot mode. And this Jeep Swindle ended up getting a lot of weird fusions. Like this new Swindle that we have here today gets a lot of weird fusions from that XR 311 combat vehicle today. So it gets a little messy. It gets a little messy because it's not 100% a Jeep, because it's very like the front end is a Jeep, but then it gets kind of boxy and weird in the back end, and it doesn't really look like the animation model at the end of the day. As a result of it, they did keep the vehicle turret concept and the combining of it there like the animation model did, so I appreciate that. That's kind of cool. But what's odd is you even have like weird stuff like the windshield getting mixed up with the Fleur O'Deary design in the original real-life XR 311. In the robot mode and the vehicle mode for the animation model, Swindle's windshield had no middle center brake support. It's always been that one design all around. And the alt mode supported this, the robot mode supported this. And now what they did is when you're in the vehicle mode, it has that center brake. And when it's in the robot mode, clearly because it's flipped to the other side, it looks more like the animation model. So it's kind of weird that there's that lack of continuity between the two, because the only time we've had that center brake is when you look at the original XR 311 hardtop. That has the center brake. Excuse me, the non-hardtop has the center brake. The hardtop did have it. So I guess they kind of maybe got that mixed up. I don't know. Where does that center brake come from? Did they look at an actual Jeep Willy and just kind of based it on that and ignored the animation model? It's a bizarre visual choice, which leads to a very ugly looking alt mode all around in a lot of different ways when comparing it to what it was trying to be based on. But at least that robot mode looks great, right? So, I mean, maybe I'll just keep it in robot mode, but I mean, sadly at the end of the day, like many of us, we're going to crunch them all up into a Bruticus leg, and that'll be the end of that, and it'll all be for naught at the end. Anyhow, I love that robot mode. It's just a shame that we ain't getting something that's 100% at the end of the day. I guess maybe we'll wait for a Masterpiece or something. So I'll see you in 2030 when Masterpiece Bruticus becomes a thing. But let me know what you think at the end of the day. Again, I appreciate what's going on here, but there's a lot of wacky stuff too. And the last thing we're going to talk about is today also is the debut and the finale of Transformers Earthspark on Paramount Plus. There has been some reports, depending on your region, that not all episodes are being uploaded to Paramount Plus's servers right away. So you might have to wait till late Friday, early Saturday, even Sunday for all of these to be uploaded and figured out. It's almost kind of appropriate for an ending for Earthspark. Messy, misled, and kind of boring. But hopefully onward to bolder, newer, and more exciting ideas with the Transformer brand in terms of long-form animation. I mean, I like what's going on with Cyberworld, but let's talk about long-form here. Earthspark, while it did have its moments, will probably join the annals of Transformer long-form content history, probably at the bottom of the list. Maybe even the very bottom. You know, if you factor in, again, like 30-minute episodes and stuff, probably joining that of some of the Netflix stuff and everything. So it's a shame. Again, some good ideas, but ultimately in the end, a failure of a show, a failure of a toy line, and a failure of an overall idea. And hopefully stuff will be learned from this so those mistakes don't happen in the future. We could always learn from our mistakes as long as we actually choose to learn from them and not make excuses. But let me know what you think about all of this, and thanks again for listening to the Transformer Slag podcast and keeping you educated, entertained, and informed on everything going on in our beautiful Transformer world. Tomorrow we have the Transformer Slag podcast Internet live stream, so be sure to tune in 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, Saturday night, and we'll update you guys on what's happening with stuff, if anything changes, any new news, any new updates, any new photos, and of course, we'll talk about some of the deeper financial stuff too. But that's it more or less. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you in the near future.